Okay, let's move on. Okay, it's about jQuery, right? To introduce jQuery, it's a lightweight JavaScript library. So the purpose of it is to simplify the development of dynamic web pages. So when we talk about dynamic web pages, right, we know we could create web pages using technologies like HTML to lay out the page, and then we could use CSS, which is cascading style sheets, to style those pages. For example, we could just apply a color. We could apply some different fonts, different font sizes. We could position uh, different elements in wherever we want, like positioning, um, and we could do some cool animations with CSS. So these are all that can be done through HTML and CSS. You just laying out the page content or the structure, and then you could just style it through CSS. But when it comes to interactivity, so basically you are doing something with the web page, and the page has to respond back. For example, if you are hovering on something, if the page element in a page element, if the cursor is on top of that element, then it, it, it needs to do something like popping up an alert. So this type of interactivity uh, can be achieved with JavaScript. So JavaScript provides that. We could do like a pure JavaScript, or maybe we can use a library like jQuery, which is written on top of JavaScript. JavaScript use பண்ணி தான் jQuery எழுதிக்கிறாங்க. We can use that to perform some of these interactivity functions, right? So jQuery, it's basically written on top of JavaScript. It's using JavaScript, and it provides easy ways to do some interaction between the page, and the developer has some tooling or easy way of doing things. So advantage of using jQuery: easy to use than raw JavaScript commands. It supports almost all browsers. So basically the developers of jQuery, they make sure whatever the functions they introduce is compatible with all major browsers, right? So we don't have to worry, okay, whether it works on Internet Explorer, it doesn't work on Chrome, or it works on Chrome, it doesn't work on Internet Explorer. So these type of caveats or issues are like mitigated by the developers of normally the library. So specifically it's jQuery in this case. And talking about availability, it has good documentation. So this is jQuery, and if we go to the official site of it, right, so this is their official site, which is jQuery.com. So apart from the introduction of our UCSC slides, if we read this out, jQuery is fast, small, and feature-rich JavaScript library. It makes things like HTML document traversal and manipulation, event handling, animation, and AJAX much simpler, right? With an easy to use API. API means they have like provided some functions you can use that works across a multitude of browsers with a combination of versatility and extensibility. So basically you can add function also, right? So that's extensibility. jQuery has changed the way that millions of people write JavaScript. So basically, jQuery was actually it was really popular maybe 5 years back. But there are some other alternate stuff, cool stuff that is in the industry. To name a few, like Vue.js, there's something called Angular, there is something called React.js. So these are all like cool things, cool technologies in which normally like it overrides jQuery, right? So if you want to take a note, you can have those topics in somewhere, note it down and have a look. So that's Angular, Vue.js, that is this one. JS and React. So these are different cool JavaScript based technologies. You can have a look. Right, on jQuery, let's talk about this. Say for example, I'm using Visual Studio Code to get these examples running. Right, so basically I'll create a folder in the desktop. That's for web dev 2. Right, so this is the folder that I'm going to use. So open with code. Okay, so we could just have an index.html page. So when talk about jQuery, it's also basically we are going to write something to manipulate the DOM, which is in HTML, right? So we do an HTML. Right, so this is hello jQuery. So we would have an h1 hello jQuery as well, right? So that's it. And for this to run, we could just serve it up from the file itself. So just open it up. You can do it like that, or maybe if you have live server extension installed, you can do it like that. Control-Shift-P, live server. All right. So that's basically giving me real-time updates, right? There you go. When we do a save, it will update here. So that's we have the index HTML. Let's go for the slide. Going to the slide and see jQuery selectors enable you to access HTML DOM elements easily. Selectors can be used to access DOM elements by tag name, ID, class, attributes, attribute values. So these are all like different things what you can do. Okay, so let's have a let's have some code to work with. So that's okay. So in this example, so it has a head, and we need to put a reference to the jQuery library to use jQuery. And here we have some script element where we do the manipulation of the DOM. and here within the body we have these few things. Okay, let's do the coding bit now. So let's do a div name equal first, right? I'll do a lorem there, and here we have a second div name equals second, right? I would do a second lorem, right? So if we look at the live, this thing is already synced, right? So we have these two parameters. You know how you can like have classes here, right? This is first, this is second, class is equal to second, and you can style them, right? So this is styling. You have like three types. One is inline, the other one is internal, and the other one is external. So I'm using internal style, right? First, right, I want to style this first paragraph. Color is red, right? So this is now red, and for the first paragraph I would need a like a bottom margin bottom 30 pixels, right? So I get a space there. Okay, so this is our base thing, right? Base template that we are going to work on. Okay, let's look at how we can import JQuery, right? So to import JQuery, we had the site open, right? Okay, let's say JQuery CDN. So CDN is actually it's abbreviation for content delivery network. So basically JQuery is a library, right? It's a library used by thousands of people, maybe 100,000 of people. So this library, you can like use it in two ways. One way is to download that library and embed it in your code itself. That's one way of doing it. Otherwise, because we are creating web pages, it is intended to be online. So because of that, we can have reference to online resources also directly. Online cloud உள்ள ஒரு resource-க்கு reference வச்சு அதை யூஸ் பண்ணோம் எங்களுக்கு ஏலும். So there are two ways of doing it. One way is the local you download it and use it. The other way is you have the reference to the cloud itself. Right? CDN is that kind of a thing, content delivery network. So it's in the cloud, right? It's in the cloud. To use that, so basically, okay, let's first look at how we can like reference it here. Copy, right? And then in the head itself, you have to put that code. Okay, so this is assuming you have internet, right? So if you see, this is a script tag, right? It has an src attribute which is pointing to an internet URL. So basically this is pointing to code.jquery.com, right? And this file, so it's in the cloud, it's in the internet, right? So these are like different attributes that CDN seems to be using. Okay, so if we have this, we can have a script tag maybe within the body or head. You can have it in different places. Let's do it in the body. You could have a script tag, right? And we can tap into say for example this second one using this code. See, there's so we have only two divs, right? So let's look at this one, document ready. Let's copy and paste it here. So $document dot ready, and there's a function, right? So basically let's run this and see what happens. I'm gonna save it. Okay, let's see, document ready, function, and div. I would like console log everything. So there seems to be an error. Oh, so there seems to be an error. Let's see what that is. Let's get this guy out and see if this works. Okay. Let's put back in here. All right, so here I'm getting first, right? And if I click on OK, I'll get second also, and OK, right? So basically what it does is, right, I'll just explain this one. This line is an alert, right? You know what an alert is. Normally when we do an alert, it will just give this kind of a model, right? A message, right? So basically if I comment this out and do an alert here, see, if I refresh this, I would get hello, right? So that's an alert. And then if I want you know, when the page is ready to render, it's already, the DOM is ready. If we want to do some functionality, we would do it with JQuery like this, right? So here we have the JQuery imported. We have the JQuery imported, and this dollar means that JQuery object. Okay. So document $document.ready means now our DOM is ready. The document object model is ready with these elements like the h1 divs and the content. Basically the page is ready now to be manipulated, right? So when that is ready, we can give a function inside, right? Here we can do anything. So basically if you want to change colors of this this paragraph, you can do that, right? So for example, if I want to change the color of this, right? So that's basically div So I'll comment this out. I don't want that. So that's div 1. Okay. And I want to change colors of it, right? So I would do CSS color and then give red. Right. So it's basically this is pondering on everything. So if I want to have one, should have given me color 1. Okay, let's forget it for the moment. So basically you can tap into, if you want, you can tap into this based on this class. So div dot second. So class is basically referred as dot, right? So we have a div with a class second, right? So that color could be blue, right? This is normally how you would do without these indexes. And if you want to take the attribute out of it, so this is an attribute. So for a div, these are all attributes. So one of the attributes is class, the other one is name. If you want, you can put your own attribute as well, my own, and I could give a name. Some value. Right. So my own is another attribute. So if I want to get this, like say for example, if I want to get the name of the second or get my own of the second, so I would do like div dot second, so that targets this div, right? And then just like this, we could use get attributes, right? And my own. Right? And alert it. Yeah, so basically what it does is div dot second will give me a JQuery object, right? When I do like this, it will give me a JQuery object. And then get attributes, it's not actually JQuery, it is HTML. HTML has get attributes method. Right. So this is not JQuery itself, it's an HTML thing, right? So when you have a JQuery object selected, and if you want to get into the HTML of it, you do it like this. So in the 0th index, you have the HTML element, and once the HTML element is tapped into or selected, you can get the using this get attribute, you can have this, right? Have this come out. So that's how it works. So in that case, for the previous one also, so say for example, I on the previous attempt I tried to change this thing's color using using the okay, so for the moment let's forget about it. Let's go to the notes. Okay, so here if we look at it, selectors can be used to access DOM elements by tag name, ID, class, attributes and attribute values. So we will look each of these. Let's get rid of this one. So for the H1 I give an ID, right? Let's focus on this. Okay, the first one is tag name, right? So from tag name, to target the tag name, so basically you would do $ and then the tag name, right? So that's H1. So basically I am changing the color here. For this H1, right? I want it to be purple maybe, right? So basically it is same as CSS, how you target it, right? The tag targeting or element targeting is done by the tag name, right? So which is H1. So if you want to target the divs also, you would say, I'll copy this out, instead of H1 you would say div, right? So that also became purplish, right? So that is about tag targeting, right? So we call this element targeting as well, element targeting. So in a nutshell, what we have done here, we have an HTML skeleton, right? And we have to have the reference to JQuery library. Okay, so this is basically referencing the web, and then you have to have some markup in the body. This is document.ready is checking whether the page is already loaded, right? Once the page is loaded, only we can perform some DOM manipulation or this element manipulation, right? So that is why we need this document.ready, and once that is ready, we can pass in any function, right? Say for example, this doesn't have to be inside here. We could have it out as well. For example, if we had a function like this, my function, you can call it here, right? It's still going to do the same. So if you do make it red here, it will work like that, right? So basically we are declaring a function somewhere, and on the document ready we are using that function. So that is also possible, right? So there are multiple ways of doing the same thing. So anyway I'll get it here because it's how in the notes, they are in the notes, right? So document ready, you have the function. Now we are done with the tag targeting, right? Now we are going to look at ID targeting, right? To target ID, let's say for example, I will have a different div, and for this div I will give an ID of second, right? So this is the second div, but it is not the name or the class, it is the ID that I'm giving, right? To target this ID, how we do that is just similar to CSS, dollar hash and ID name, which is second, right? And then we can specify some CSS. But why I'm using CSS is because you can visually see the effect, right? So if you want to have a different background, say for example, you can do that. So gray, background. Okay, so I had a spelling mistake there. So background, you could give anything. So if I give white, that will be like white, and you can give a blue, and in the same manner you can have a color of white, right? And you can do different things. So if you want, you can make a padding as well, 10 pixels. See, basically you can manipulate this document object model like this, right? So this is ID targeting. Okay, and the next one is class targeting. Class targeting, actually we looked at it on the first one, but anyway, let's do it again. So this is class targeting. Similar to that, dollar, and what is the thing that we want to target? Say for example this one, the first one, right? So because we have a class already defined, we can target as dot first, and we could have a CSS which makes the color to purple, right? As you can see, it turned purple, right? So let's see, for example, now this color is purple. If we can do a background as well here without specifying it, let's put a dot and CSS again, background, and what is a suitable background here? Maybe yellow. Okay, so what I'm demonstrating is another thing in JQuery, which is called chaining, right? So basically here I'm targeting the first class first, right? And I'm doing a .css on the color. So color is the color of the font, which is purple now, right? And so once you do this, actually this will return a JQuery object. It is called a JQuery object, right? So since it is a JQuery object, again we could do a dot on that and give a different CSS as well, right? You can, this is called chaining, right? Basically you can give another dot and give a different CSS, for example padding, right? And give a 20 pixel padding, right? So if you see this one, the ID targeting, and this one, it is kind of similar, but here each time I'm targeting it and giving it the CSS, targeting it, giving it the CSS, right? But here the difference is I target the element once and then manipulate it on a chain using dot, right? So this is also possible in JQuery, right? And then there is something called attribute targeting. So this is tag targeting, which is h1, for example, h1p. So those are all tags. All right, here this is how you tap into the attributes, right? You know, the attribute is actually things. For example, if you take this div, the attribute is class and this name, right? Attribute's value is, for the class attribute we have the value first, for the name attribute we have the value first, right? So these are attributes of that div. Okay. All right, iterating through a jQuery object collection. I think for today, let's wrap this out here with the tag ID and class targeting. If you have any questions, just let me know in the chat window. So we'll schedule the next class. We can go through the rest of it in the next class, hopefully. Right.